Hey everyone, it's Mark and I'm back with another flight sim video. Today I'm going to be looking at the process that I use for deciding which airplanes to buy. What are the things that I look for in any plane that I'm interested in, the pros and cons of in-game marketplace purchases, and a bunch more related topics. My goal with this video is to give you some tools and things to think about so that you can make smart purchases and get the most bang for your buck, because there are more and more planes that are available every day and it can become really expensive if you end up buying every must-have airplane. Right off the bat, you might be wondering if you should even be buying new airplanes with the announcement of the next version of Flight Sim, and my answer to that is a yes, but with an asterisk. The new sim probably won't release until mid to late 2024 anyways, which is still a ways off. So if there's a plane that I know that I'm going to be flying enough from now until then to get my money's worth, then I'm still gonna be buying it. On the other hand, for things where I'm more likely to only just do a couple of flights, like say the Antonov AN225, I'll probably end up skipping a lot more of those types of purchases just because I'm not going to get as much value from them. And that's really why I decided to put together this buying guide in the first place. It's to help you decide which airplanes are going to be worth your time and money. My starting point when I'm in the market for a new airplane is a list that's on the official Microsoft Flight Sim forums. It's updated every month with the most popular community voted airplanes, and it's just a really good indicator as to what other simmers are enjoying, be it a small GA airplane, an airliner, or anything else in between. From there, I'll usually pick a couple of planes that interest me and I'll cross-check that with what I'm already flying, because I don't want to double up on too many airplanes of the same type because I just won't have time to fly them all. And to help me out there, I break it out into categories just to get a sense of where I could actually use a better airplane, or if there's a category that I haven't tried yet that interests me, rather than just buying an airplane that might not bring me that much value. There'll obviously be exceptions to this when something truly outstanding comes out, like the A28 Comanche is a good one, but I try and stick to this rule as much as possible just to keep my costs in check. With that in mind, I'm going to take a deeper look at my options, and although you can look at the ratings on the marketplace, generally 4 stars and up is going to be pretty good, but I don't base my buy decision on this metric alone. Instead, I'm going to skim through a couple of reviews and live streams just to get a sense of how good the rendition of the plane is. The first thing I'll be looking for is how many controls are functional in the cockpit. Do all of the knobs and switches work? Are the circuit breakers implemented? Things like that. On top of that, you can also look at the avionics to see what works and what doesn't. For example, can it do an ILS approach? Is the VNAV functional? Do the autopilot modes work properly, etc.? I'll also look at how easy or hard it is to hand fly it, and does it seem to fly true to the real airplane. And for this, it's usually best to hear from a couple of real pilots' opinions rather than a fake sim pilot like me. Lastly, I check if the developers come back and made bug fixes and improvements, because that's a sign that they're invested in the product that they've released and that it's going to continue to improve over time. Sometimes this might also mean you'll be willing to buy an airplane with less features at the start because you know they're going to continue to add on more stuff as time goes on. We're going to get back to the video in just a second, but I do want to remind you, if you've gotten some value already, please make sure to hit the like button and think about subscribing as well. I publish a new video every 2 weeks with tips, tricks, and tutorials for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and your likes and subscribes are what keep the channel growing. Let's talk a little bit about peripherals and hardware, because although you can usually make any airplane work with a simple stick and throttle, sometimes they won't work quite how you want them to, and you might end up having to invest in more gear. This happened to me with the TCA Airbus pack. It works fantastic for flying Airbuses, and you can tweak it to work okay for GA airplanes and for Boeings, but you have to remove the detents and do some workarounds to make things like beta and reversers work properly, so it becomes a real pain to go back and forth all the time. On top of that, think about your computer itself. The bigger and more complex airplanes are heavier on the CPU, the GPU, and the RAM, and if you're adding on other plugins like Navigraph, VATSIM, or even a 4K screen, it can quickly affect your frame rate, so make sure that you check the system requirements that each developer suggests. If you're a PC-based simmer, you're going to have the choice to buy the plane directly from the developer through their website, or a third-party platform like Just Flight or SimMarket, or you can go through the in-game marketplace, and where you decide to buy is not always as clear-cut as you might think. I lean more towards buying it directly when there's additional stuff included with the airplane. For example, with PMDG and INI builds, you get their management tool that handles updates, liveries, flight plans, and a couple other bells and whistles, so you're getting a little bit more value for your money there. You're also going to get your updates faster by buying it directly. Although Microsoft have been making efforts to try and accelerate the pace of releases in the marketplace, it's still never going to be available as fast as a direct purchase. Purchasing directly also cuts out the middleman that the in-game marketplace is. Although I've seen different reports about how much of a cut Microsoft actually take, at the end of the day, it's still going to be less money getting to the developer who likely spend hundreds of hours working on it. And as a dev myself, I totally sympathize with that. All of that being said, there are still some compelling reasons to buy from the marketplace, and the first of those is just ease of use. It's just super easy to go into the marketplace, find an airplane you're interested in, and buy it with just a couple clicks. On top of that, sometimes with exchange rates, it can actually be cheaper to buy from the marketplace, but this is going to vary based on where you are and the currency that the developer is using on their website. So just make sure that you do your due diligence to get the best deal available. And also don't forget, there are often sales on the marketplace. Oftentimes around public holidays, a bunch of stuff is going to be available for a lot less. The other argument that I've heard for buying from the marketplace is to encourage Microsoft to continue to invest in Flight Sim. They've obviously done that with the announcement of the next version of the sim, but purchases that are made through their platform definitely encourages them to continue to develop it. The only thing that I avoid, regardless of where I'm getting it, is to buy on the initial release day. Oftentimes, even the best products are going to be buggy at launch, and it's really best to see how others go with it first before biting the bullet. Another option that you have instead of buying a completely new plane is that there are now a lot of mods for the default planes that can improve them in pretty much every single way, and some of these are even freely available, although right now that's generally limited to PC-based simmers. Upgrading an existing plane is usually a little bit cheaper than buying an entirely new plane because often they're going to rely on the existing external model that comes with Flight Sim, but I personally love this approach because it really improves the things that I care about the most. The other type of upgrade that you shouldn't shrug at is an improved sound pack, which is basically a high quality recording of the real plane's audio, and it does really go a long way to improving your experience and the immersion you get from flying the airplane. There aren't a ton of sound pack providers out there that I know of. The two main ones are Boris AudioWorks and FT Sim. But if you combine one of their sound packs with one of those upgraded airplanes, you're getting seriously close to being as real as it gets. Complex airplanes can be frustrating when you first buy them because they're harder to start and fly properly, and you just want to get some value for your money right away. And that's where having a good learning process in place can really pay off. I'm a big fan of the 80-20 rule, and it's actually how I've set up my tutorials for the 737, the A310, and the fly-by-wire, and that's that you only need to learn about 20% of how the airplane works to get 80% of the enjoyment out of it, and then once you've got that down, you can deep dive to understand how everything else around it works, from the cold and dark flows to more realistic procedures. Alright, that's going to end my little sales pitch, and I hope you learned some useful tools and tips that you can use for buying your next airplane, and make sure to hit like and subscribe on your way out so that you don't miss out on the next video.